capitalism as teleological altruism, an evolutionary definition. Capitalism is typically defined as a system of private ownership, voluntary exchange, and profit maximization. In its conventional form, it is described as a system driven by self-interest, where individuals pursue their own gain and collective outcomes emerge as unintended consequences. This interpretation is structurally incomplete. It misidentifies the driving mechanism and places unnecessary burden on the monetary system to correct misalignment. A more precise definition emerges when capitalism is analyzed through an evolutionary and game-theoretic lens. Capitalism is a system of teleological altruism, where agents function as coordinated capital inputs directed toward a higher-order objective. Teleology and the objective function. Any system that persists under selection must optimize for a definable objective. In evolutionary terms, this objective is not subjective preference, but the expansion of adaptive capacity, complexity, and problem-solving ability. Within the evolutionary capitalist framework, this converges toward the construction of the perfect evolutionary being, a system capable of overcoming all existential constraints. This yields a clear objective function: maximize total evolutionary productivity over time. Once this objective is specified, all economic activity is evaluated strictly by contribution to that function. There is no need to appeal to individual motivation, preference, or psychological framing. The system is not about what agents want, it is about what they produce. The elimination of self-interest as a primitive. Traditional economic theory treats self-interest as a foundational assumption. Even when it claims alignment with social good, it does so indirectly, relying on emergent coordination or invisible hand dynamics. This creates a structural inefficiency. The system must constantly correct deviations between individual incentives and collective outcomes. Under a sufficiently advanced evolutionary system, this inefficiency is removed entirely. Self-interest is not refined, aligned, or harnessed, it is replaced. Teleological altruism becomes the operative mechanism. Agents are selected, rewarded, and allocated decision-making power based solely on their contribution to the system's objective function. Behavior is not justified by intent or personal gain, but by measurable impact on total productivity. This removes the burden from the monetary and reputational system. Instead of forcing alignment between self-interest and system goals, the system evolves to operate without self-interest as a relevant category. Teleological altruism as system structure. Teleological altruism is not a psychological trait. It is not empathy, sacrifice, or moral intention. It is a structural condition in which all actions are evaluated and selected based on their contribution to the system's end. Agents do not act for themselves or for others. Those distinctions become irrelevant. They act as components within a system that selects for productive outcomes. Any behavior that does not contribute to the objective function is systematically eliminated through loss, reallocation, or exclusion from decision-making authority. Altruism, in this sense, is not chosen, it is imposed by the structure of the system. Humans as capital. Within this framework, individuals are not ends in themselves. They are capital, adaptive, dynamic inputs into a larger optimization process. This is not a moral claim, it is a functional classification. Just as physical capital is evaluated based on its contribution to production, human capital is evaluated based on its contribution to evolutionary output. The implications are direct. Value is contingent on contribution to total productivity. Rights are not axiomatic, they are strategies that persist only if they improve system performance. Decision-making authority must track demonstrated productivity. The system continuously reallocates both resources and control toward agents who most effectively advance the objective function. The role of perfect information. Teleological altruism requires accurate measurement of contribution. Any distortion, whether from privacy, information asymmetry, or mispriced signals, creates misallocation. A fully transparent, reputation-based monetary system becomes necessary not to align self-interest, but to enforce teleological selection. Such a system attributes production and destruction precisely, internalizes all externalities, penalizes unproductive or destructive behavior, allocates resources and authority based on verified contribution. As measurement approaches accuracy, the system's reliance on corrective mechanisms diminishes. There is no longer a need to reconcile conflicting incentives, only to measure and select. Capitalism reinterpreted. Under this definition, capitalism is not a system that relies on self-interest to accidentally produce beneficial outcomes. It is a system that evolves toward direct optimization of its objective function through teleological altruism. Profit is not a personal reward, it is a measurement of contribution. Loss is not a personal penalty, it is a signal for reallocation. All economic activity becomes part of a continuous selection process, refining the system toward higher levels of productivity and adaptive capacity. Conclusion: capitalism, properly understood, is not a system of competing individual interests. It is a distributed optimization process governed by teleological altruism. Agents are not independent actors pursuing private ends. They are capital within a system that selects for contributions to a shared evolutionary trajectory. As the system evolves, the concept of self-interest becomes obsolete. It is replaced by direct participation in an objective process where all actions are evaluated by their contribution to total productivity. The more accurately the system measures and enforces this standard, the more completely teleological altruism defines economic behavior, and the less the system depends on any residual notion of individual motivation.